Hey guys, here again with another Shirogorov knife video. Today we have in front of us the Custom Division 111. Now, as of recently, we've seen the 111s and pretty much all other Custom Divisions have a name attached to them. The 111 Deep Space, the Hati Magnetic, Hati Bronze, Neon NL for inlay. However, there was a time, and this time is in 2017 when this knife was released, where there were no other 111 Custom Division models. So this represented the first one, and which is why it's called the 111 Custom Division just 111. This is also the Custom Division in that last year, 2017, where we saw kind of a very big jump in how Custom Division was doing things, from the complexity of the machining to the materials being used, and also the even the serial numbering system had changed as well. So this really represents the last of the era for Custom Division, and you can see here it bears a lot of similarities to the 111 production model at the time, but with some really neat changes and bump up in materials, which we'll discuss in this video here. But first off, let's go ahead and do a quick size comparison. Of course, the 111 is the largest model in the Shirogorov lineup, putting it up against a Hati here and a Neon. You can see the 111 is the largest 111, named after the way that Russia measures the blade length, the 111 millimeters, as opposed to the F95 at 95 millimeters. What this means, however, is we have a cutting length of around 4.5 inches, so quite a large knife. We have an overall open length at around just under 10 inches and a closed handle length of, let's see here, just under 5.5 inches. Taking a look at the weight, you can see the weight of the knife is just a little bit over 5.5 ounces. So not a particularly light knife, but given the size of it, I don't think it feels particularly heavy in the hand, especially when you consider the fact that it's there's very liberal use of bronze in place of titanium on the production 111, which of course bronze is significantly heavier as a material than titanium. Moving on to the blade here, we can see we have a Vanadis 10 blade. Vanadis 10 is an extremely high edge retention steel that unfortunately has very low corrosion resistance. There are other knives that the workshop has done in Vanadis 10 since then, the Quantum Bronze Custom Division being the first one that comes to mind. Those knives are definitely prone to rust, especially in environments that are quite humid. Fortunately for me, this knife is in California right now for this video. I actually wanted to take this time to give a shout out to the friend who was able to send this in. Again, a lot of these Custom Divisions I just don't have anymore, or in the case of this one, had never had the chance to own. So really appreciate the community sending these knives in for me to do videos on. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, you want to be careful with Vanadis 10. It has monster edge retention, much higher than, say, S90V, the classic Custom Division knife steel, but that comes at the cost of corrosion resistance. And if you're not careful, rust spots can easily form here. So one thing to be careful of if you ever get your hands on a knife in Vanadis 10 from the workshop. But anyways, you can see here, we have the traditional 111 blade profile with the fuller, so this represents the premium blade configuration, just like production 111s at the time. We also have no jimping up here on the top, which I think is sorely needed, especially in a knife this large if you want to do any detailed cutting. But we do have the satin flats that we see in all Custom Divisions. The satin flats actually, while not very visible here because of the large fuller, I think is very nice, especially when you get it in the correct light, given how long the flats are on the 111. Anyways, going on to the primary bevel here, we have that more refined Custom Division finish. And of course, this being a, while this is a relatively old Custom Division model, we still have the Custom Division blade logo here on the blade. Moving on to the handles, you can see here that the handle configuration for the most part is very similar to what we see on the production 111s. We have this very fine milling here, not as fine as say silk, but more closer to the width of what you see on the seashell, which gives a very nice tactile feel, both in the hand and when running your fingers over it. We also have a milling cut here on the bottom and the top, and these milling cuts right here are actually unique to the 111. Both the custom 111s from way back when Sergey was doing composite material 111s. He still is actually. I believe this cut has changed, but this unique cut here, which is especially noticeable on the upper portion, is unique to the Custom Vision and the custom 111s. The production one is just slightly different. Over here, you can also see, this being a 2017 Custom Vision model, we have the smaller or original OG pivot screw size with those chamfers on the screw head itself, which is really nice. I think it sets apart the Custom Vision models just that much further, something that a lot of people really didn't notice, and something that I actually really never called out in the videos as well. The Custom Vision screws are different, not only because of the indexed faux side, show side here, but also the fact that the chamfers of the screw are polished. We also have bronze pivot collars that goes along. You'll see a lot of bronze in this knife, and the pivot collars is really the starting point of that. The pivot collar, the bronze on the pivot collars and also on the other parts of the knife, I wouldn't say that they're have a forced patina like they do on the F95 Antique, but they definitely are just darkened just a little bit. They have a matte finish to them, which I think is very attractive. And given how old these knives are, coming out in 2017, just through the natural process with how bronze ages, the knives that are out there I think have probably changed a little bit in appearance since they have first come out, which I think is really cool. All the knives probably have aged slightly differently depending on the conditions on where they were with the owner. But anyways, you can see here that the carbon fiber, which is something that I should have talked about earlier on, also has bronze dust impregnated into the weave. We see a similar carbon fiber that came out just a year later in the 2018 Custom Vision series with the Hati Bronze, but that one is with a marble carbon fiber with bronze dust. This one being weave carbon fiber, you can see there is a lot more carbon fiber and the bronze dust is a little bit more subtle. Something that I actually do appreciate. Some people want that massive load of bronze dust, but I think having subtle scales here with that metallic coloring in between the weave is kind of nice as well. Moving over to the lock side, you can see here that we have the normal screw that you actually use to assemble the pivot here. Interestingly enough, with the production knives, since all of the screw heads are on this side, they're able to really clock them and have them face inwards. This one usually facing this way, this one facing down, and then this one facing inwards like this. But with the Custom Vision, especially with the pivot screw, since this is indexed with a ball bearing so it doesn't rotate, you really don't have much say into the angle at where this screw here is. So I found that very interesting actually. These other two might have been facing downwards and this way at some point, but as you can see here, this one has rotated since the body screws are not indexed, of course. But anyways, very minor point. Moving on to the clip here, you can see we have a blind screwed clip, which was unusual for 111s at the time, especially for the production ones. The custom ones, I believe, did have blind screwed clips at the time, of course. Custom Vision usually being following in the footsteps of the customs. This one is also made out of bronze, and this clip design actually I think is borrowed from the customs. So that's pretty cool. Usually Custom Vision, they'll kind of do their own thing in terms of the designs that they're using, especially for hardware like the clip. But on this one, I believe this is a clip design for one of the older 111s, which I think is very interesting. You see a similar pattern now with the current 111 Custom Vision, such as the Deep Space and titanium 111s, where you have a skeletonized clip, and that was a clip that was used on some of the custom 111s from this generation, actually, or around this time in 2017. Moving on to the backspacer, you can see we just have the normal design that is on the production 111. Actually, I take that back. I believe that the production 111 has either a smooth backspacer or a different jimping pattern. But you can see we have a wider gear pattern here for the 111 custom division, and also I believe on some of the limited 111s, such as the Congressional and the Sugar Bears 111 as well. So this pattern is used. I've definitely seen it on other knives, but I believe it is just a little bit slightly different than the production one. And of course, this is done in bronze as well. You can see here, darkened bronze. And with this large backspacer that we see on the 111 design, that carries over very well, being done in this beautiful, darkened bronze material here. Very large piece of bronze that probably contributes significant weight to the knife. The bearing system is also something interesting of note. You can see here that it's MRBS. Now, this is actually exactly like the production 111, which is very interesting because the standard pivot system for pretty much all custom division knives, the vast majority of custom division knives, are that single row roller bearing system with roller bearings instead of the MRBS that was present on knives at the time. Now this is really interesting actually, and depending on how you look at it, is a really nice benefit if you like that drop shut action. A lot of people have been polishing the flats or satin finishing the flats on their production knives with MRBS, and a lot of people really talk about the drop shut action or smoothness of custom division knives. Honestly, having owned so many of them and having so many just pass through my hands, I can really say that the largest portion of the thing that contributes the most, in better words, to the smoothness of the custom division knives is that satin finish on the flats. So if you mirror polish your knife, for example, yourself, your production knife, and you combine that with MRBS, I think you really get the most drop shut action here. And there are not a lot of knives that come from the workshop that have satin flats and MRBS. This one comes to mind, the Club Hottie, which has the PVD purple scale lock side, and the purple G10 scale is another one that comes to mind. Those two knives with MRBS and satin flats have incredibly good actions. I've handled about 3 of these knives now and about 2 Club Hotties, and they're just incredibly drop shut and smooth. So I know a lot of people really appreciate the rollers in the custom division knives. Unfortunately, this one does not have it, but for those who are kind of action snobs, I really don't think you can do much better than satin flats with MRBS. I think it's a great combo for something that is just really nice to fiddle with. Overall though, again, this knife represents the last in the custom division era. Last point here, I want to talk about the numbering system here. Actually, taking a look at this one, you can see it's kind of in that transition phase actually. I'm not sure if the other custom division knives had the date for the knife in terms of the year that the knife was part of for the series. You can see here that this knife was part of the 2017 custom division series. But as you can see here, this has the older sequential serial system where the knives were numbered as they were made. So 485 could potentially not have been a 111 custom division knife, as you see here. It could be a completely different model. In 2018, they moved towards a system where you had the number of the knife in the year, for example, like 1, 2, 3, 4, as for the 4 knives in 2018, and then the knives in the series, and then the year that the knife came out. So the numbering system had changed after this model, and it's really nice to see something kind of like a little blast from the past here. Haven't seen this serial system in a long time, and for someone who pays attention to the knives as much as I do, it's really nice to see how things have really evolved over the years. Oh, another thing as well that I wanted to point out This knife, while having no internal milling on the carbon fiber like the normal production 111s, I believe, as you can see here, has that dual-stepped milling on the liner on the inside. I believe that only the custom division 111 has that feature, besides the customs, of course. The production ones only had a single step of milling on the liner that was not completely skeletonized, if I'm not mistaken. And some of the older 111s before that actually had no milling on the liner. So another interesting fact, and another way that this knife is just a little bit more unique than the production 111, despite looking quite similar, if I do say so myself. Otherwise, I think that's it for this knife. Again, really appreciate my friend for sending this one over. Haven't owned this one personally, like I said earlier, so it's really nice to finally round out the 111, having the 111 and having and seeing this for myself personally. Hopefully I can get my hands on some more older custom visions. Those really are the hardest ones to track down since they've kind of settled with their current owners. But, if I do find another one, you can expect to see another Knife Notes video on it right here on this channel. Hope you guys enjoyed your day, and I'll see you guys next time.